I'm joined by head coach Pedro Arruza from Randolph-Macon College football. They were picked #1 in this year's ODAC preseason poll. Coach, let's talk a little bit about last year guiding into this year. Some good season for you last year. Don't want that to escape it at all. Really came down to all your results in the schedule important, but the one result that happened there, that close game against Washington and Lee. Take us through a little bit about last year's team and what you think they look like coming into this year with about half of your all conference guys back this year.
Yeah, I think it's always a little bit tough to make predictions at this point. We've had three weeks of camp and, the team is coming together, but I think it always takes a little bit of time to discover each team's identity. And, I liked last year's team. I thought we had a really good group of guys. It was essentially the same team that we competed with in the spring of 2021. Obviously we fell short and that loss to W&L, but you also have to give W&L credit. They did a tremendous job in that game and executed when they needed to execute. And I think one thing that I challenged our older guys about is, if you want to win in this league, you have to have your best players play their best against the best teams. Sometimes you see a guy that makes an all-conference team and, it's great to make all-conference, but if you didn't play your best against the best competition, then, so what?
Yeah, well, we got to start somewhere when looking at it. So let's go ahead and begin with the offensive side of the ball. This is where you've got a couple guys back on that from your all-conference allotment from last season. 3 of them on the offensive line. So let's start in the trenches. How big is that for you to have some experienced guys down there to bring along maybe any new guys you have? Maybe somebody's going to lose a spot to somebody new on the team. But what does it mean for you to be strong in the trenches? And how does that help your offensive skill players go ahead and take the next step forward for you?
Well, I think it's, obviously a cliche in football that, the game's won on the line of scrimmage, but, we certainly have experienced that over the years. And, I think the offensive line has been a source of pride for this program and something that we put a lot of emphasis on and care a great deal about. And we have three good players on that offensive line now. One thing that I'm a little bit concerned about, I don't think that we have the depth on the offensive line that we've had in previous years. The last 2 years, if we had to replace a guy or somebody, couldn't suit up for a game because of an injury, we had a guy that was a ready replacement. And I'm not sure that we're as deep at that position as we would like to be. And, as we've been in the past, but I would say that if we can stay healthy up front, that's going to be a big key to our season. Teams generally these days are, driven by the quarterback position and by the offensive line. And for us, with the kind of offense that we run and the scheme that we run, the offensive line is obviously a key part of that.
Defensive line, defensive play for you in general has been a hallmark of your teams, at least during my tenure watching Randolph-Macon play. Talk a little bit about this year, though. You've got a lot of guys you have to replace there, including last year's Defensive Player of the Year and Scholar Athlete and Jace DePriest on the defensive line.
Yeah, we do have a lot of guys to replace, but I think that's kind of been the nature of things over the last several years. You only have these guys for 4 years, and we've had to replace a lot of irreplaceable players over the years. So I would say the one guy that we're going to miss more than anybody is Chris Vidal. So for all the recognition that we had some other guys get last year, I told our team the other day I thought Chris Vidal was the best football player that we had on the entire team. I thought he was a difference maker. And, even in that W&L game, when he punted the ball down to the 1-yard line, really gave our defense a chance to step up and win that game and, put us in a lot of really good spots and did a tremendous job over his career here. And he's going to be a tough guy to replace. I mean, he was a great punter, great kickoff guy, was clutch and a lot of field goal situations. So we're really going to miss him.
Coach, is that a bit of a lost art do we have now with the game? Because there's a lot of analytics that are going forward on 4th down. It makes more sense to do this, but is that a lost art that we have in our game now? We're just flipping the field, changing field position, that sort of thing.
I think so. I mean, I think that, Joe Paterno had 2, maxims that he went by. One of them was field position, field position, field position. The other one was, be sound. Don't try to be too smart, just be sound. And I think that the punting game is a big part of that. And, the field position game is huge and being able to flip the field. And sometimes the best thing to do, we tell our quarterbacks, don't make bad decisions on third down. Sometimes the best thing to do is to, snap it back there to your punter, flip field position, and just let your defense help your offense out.
Well, we've got good coaches in this league helping their players not to make some of those bad decisions, helping make good decisions. Talk a little bit about what you see for the league this year, including having a new member with Averett University coming into the league full time.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting to have another member. We certainly needed that, from a number standpoint, from a scheduling standpoint. Scheduling out of conference opponents has become problematic, I think, for everybody in our league. As far as the league, I'll be honest with you, we've been in camp for 3.5 weeks, and we've got our own issues right now. So I haven't really thought too much about what anybody else in the league has coming back, or who's going to be good, who's not going to be good. I know we have a lot of really good coaches that recruit well and coach well, and we're going to have our own set of issues here in the first few weeks. So we just have to worry about ourselves right now and worry about continuing to get better.
Well, as we wrap up, kind of segue from the beginning of the season to an end of the season thing, we've been talking about it for several years about a postseason opportunity for ODAC football players and teams. Here we had the Neptune Bowl before COVID came around. COVID kind of paused that a little bit, if you will, and we continue to have talks about it. Talk about your philosophy, though, on how or why that's important to have for this sport, which really doesn't have a postseason opportunity aside from who makes the NCAA tournament as our automatic qualifier.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think it's extremely difficult to make the NCAA tournament, as we found out last year, and your road to being able to make the postseason is really to win your conference. And this is a tough conference. There's a lot of really tough conferences out there. So to have an opportunity to play a postseason game, it was interesting. Me and John Troxel, who's now the head coach at Lafayette, was Franklin and Marshall. He and I had a great conversation about this in the offseason. And he talked about, walking into Johns Hopkins athletic building and their football wing in particular. And all of the trophies from the early years that Jim Margraf was there were from those ECAC bowls, so that was a big part of the way that they were able to build that program. And I thought that was pretty insightful on his part. They didn't make the NCAA tournament, I think, for a number of years. I think they were well into a decade, before they started making the NCAA tournament on a regular basis and winning the Centennial League. But those ECAC tournaments gave their kids something to shoot for at the end of the year. When they didn't, make the NCAA tournament, it gave you an extra week of practice at the end of the year. And, I think our kids get really excited about getting to play more games. And, if the student athlete experience is the focus of Division III, as it should be really at any level of college football, then the more opportunities that these guys have to play games, the better. I mean, if we could play 15 games, I think our guys would, be really excited about that. So I think it's a great opportunity, and I think it serves the student athletes, and that's why they came to play at this level. Something that a lot of people don't realize is that kids at this level, they sacrifice, more than just about any other level. If you have a voluntary workout in the off season at 6 a.m., can't force the guys to be there. But at this level, guys show up voluntarily and work extremely hard and put in every bit as much as the Division I athletes. So I think it's a great way to reward them.
Well, we anticipate seeing the fruits of their labor out there this year. We'll continue those conversations about those additional postseason opportunities. But, Coach, until then, we look forward to seeing you out there. Thank you for joining me today.
Appreciate it.